not once. Talk about pathetic for a 26-year-old woman, but boys just hadn't been interested in that way. And in seeing that, Kristina had done everything she could to shut off that need in her heart. Friends could be enough, food could be enough, but now food could no longer be an option, which left... Her friend Jeffrey Berkley strode over to her with a flute of champagne clutched in each hand. "They're about to toast Ben and Summer," he said. "I didn't want you to miss out." "Thank you," she said, accepting the glass and choosing not to point out that she wouldn't be allowed to drink once the surgery had been performed. Both the doctor and the psychologist said her surgery would put her at a much higher risk for developing alcoholism. So many people chose to substitute one addiction for another, and her tinier stomach wouldn't be able to handle nearly as much alcohol. It would zip right through her, make her loopy. But for now she would toast, she would drink, she would smile and wish the new couple luck. She and Jeffrey clinked glasses, and she had to bite back a laugh when the champagne's fizzy bubbles tickled her upper lip. "Good stuff, isn't it?" he asked, smacking his lips. "I've never been much of a drinker, but I could get used to this." She nodded, smiled, and did her Kristina Rose thing. "I'm really happy for Ben and Summer," he continued. "Aren't you? I mean, it must be so nice knowing you found the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Knowing you'll always have someone in your corner, no matter what." Jeffrey smiled at her and let his eyes fall to the lip of her glass, which she held close to her chin. "I can't even begin to imagine how nice that must feel," she admitted and took another long drink. "Oh, you finished. Can I top you off?" Jeffrey asked, holding out his hand. Kristina hadn't even realized she'd finished the champagne in 2 gulps. That was probably the reason she was so fat to begin with. Didn't realize when she'd downed a bag of chips or half a gallon of ice cream. Maybe she was hiding something from herself, after all. "You don't mind?" She handed Jeffrey her glass, and their fingers brushed in the exchange. She felt a small thrill run through her, but then realized it must be the champagne getting to her head already. She and Jeffrey had been friends for years. They even worked together at Mabel's diner for the past several years as well. He was one of her best friends, and sure, she'd always found him handsome, but she'd also always brushed those feelings aside. After all, she wasn't the type of girl men waged wars for. She wasn't the type of girl men threw parties for or sent bouquets of flowers to. She was Kristina Rose, plain and simple and oversized. "Of course I don't mind." He watched her for a few beats, then ran off toward the refreshment table to refill both glasses. She'd better watch it with Jeffrey. Otherwise, she'd find herself longing for 2 things she could never have. Chapter 1. 2 weeks later. "Orders up," Jeffrey bellowed from the kitchen as he slid a pair of plates into the window that looked out upon Mabel's old-fashioned diner. "That was fast," Kristina Rose said with a smile as she loaded up her round serving tray with condiments and extra napkins, then grabbed the meals he had prepared. Her teeth gleamed white against her dark complexion. The added contrast made Kristina's smiles seem all the more special. Jeffrey had never been sure why, but he'd always appreciated the little jolt her happiness sent rushing through him. "Gotta be fast," he responded without missing a beat. "Mabel's got a reputation to uphold after all. And besides, I'm starved. Gonna whip something up and take a late lunch. Want to join me? I can just as easily cook for 2 as I can for 1. The corners of her mouth fell, and Kristina let out a slow sigh. "I wish," she muttered. "I started my liquid diet this morning. I'm only allowed protein drinks and chicken broth, and water, of course." Sorry, I forgot." He shooed her toward the waiting customers. Now that she'd mentioned it, he had noticed her step had become a bit slower. Her tray had drooped lower than usual. She'd be going in for surgery later that week and absent from the diner for at least a month while she recovered. Their boss, Mabel, had insisted on it. Part of him wondered why she had even come into work at all if she'd already started her pre-surgery.